You don't have to rely on other people to do that. And there's a thing on your phone called a calendar. It's right there. Hey guys, it's Owen here from D20. Before I get started on this week's video, I just want to remind you that you guys have the power to assist me in producing this content. The best way of doing that is by going to patreon.com/D20. And once you're there, you can pledge to send me a couple of dollars every month. All of that adds up, and it helps to take the edge off keeping the lights on. If you're not able or not willing to do that, there are other ways that you can help. You can rate, comment, and subscribe. All of those things help out. You can do it on any platform, whether it's here on YouTube or on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. All of that signal boost helps to generate more views in the long run, so it all helps. It's all good stuff. So this is going to be a rant. This is the rant that was supposed to be last week. And in which I'm talking about another one of my unpopular opinions, but this is one that shouldn't be unpopular, and it astonishes me on a daily basis that it is unpopular, and that is that time management is important. Now, this is something that I run into all the time. So it's always been something that I do is event planning. I do it now mostly for Pokemon Go, for the community days and that kind of thing. For the last 4 years, I was doing event planning as part of running the D20 Geeking venue. I was sort of planning and scheduling and organizing multiple events a week. But for years before that, I've been doing it in various different capacities, either as a Starfleet commanding officer or as a designated organizer of various different community organizations that I was a part of, or even in the corporate world, I would be setting and organizing meetings. And I'm not the only person that does that. I might do it more often than the average person does, but lots of people do this kind of thing. It's the way that we are able to organize that we can do things collaboratively together. Somebody has to organize the event in which we do so. And what is an event? An event is when something happens at a set time where multiple people are engaged and towards a common goal. So that goal could just be, we're going to get around the table and play D&D together, or it could be 10,000 of us are going to walk down the main street in protest of some cause, or it might be a birthday party. It could be any number of things, but events are the primary organizing unit around which collaborative activity is arranged. Even ongoing collaborative activity, like for example, if you're working together in a company, sure, if you're a miner, you get together at the mine every day with your fellow miners and you go down into the thing, and although it's fairly repetitive, that workday is in itself an event. You're all expected to arrive at a specific place at a specific time, and do a thing together for a designated period, and then you leave when it's over. All of that stuff, keeping track of all of those discrete events, is what time management boils down to. Now this, I don't know why I need to explain this to people, but I encounter people on a daily basis that don't seem to understand that this is how events work. This is how time management works. This is how you can structure your life in such a way as to do the things that you want to or need to do. And I'll give you an example. So last weekend was the Pokemon Go Community Day at Greenpoint Park. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of people there. It was really cool. That was a really great event. The nature of that event is that it's kind of informal and unstructured, so people arrived late or arrived early or left late, and that's all fine because of the kind of event that it was. The key was that everybody was in that park, walking around doing the thing, catching Larvatars and evolving them for a period of a specific 3 hours, but it's up to each individual player to decide exactly how much of their time they want to spend doing those things, and that's fine. For that kind of activity, it doesn't really matter. But in the game of Pokemon Go, there are other things that are a lot more time sensitive. So once the community day was over, my partner and I went across the road to Rocco Mama's for a burger. Rocco Mama's, by the way, fantastic. But we were just having something to eat. We'd been walking around for 3 hours in the cold/sun. It was the weather on Saturday was a bit weird. We were tired, our feet were sore, and we were ready to chow down on some really fantastic burgers. So we did that. And while we were sitting there eating, we noticed that on our Pokemon clients popped up there was going to be a level 5 raid. For those of you who don't play Pokemon Go, a raid is a specific thing where everybody has to go to a particular place called a Pokegym at a specific time, and you have a window of about 45 minutes in which to fight down a particularly big Pokemon, and you have to do it in a group depending on the level. Level 5 raid, you need bare minimum 4 high level players. Better odds, you're looking at a minimum of 6 players, ideally up to 20 players. So you need to get between 6 and 20 people to be at a specific place in a particular window of time, in that 45-minute time. And you can't really plan these things very far in advance. The thing will only appear on your client up to an hour before the thing actually starts. So it all has to be done on a very ad hoc basis. And for that reason, lots of online communities have arisen around Pokemon Go that allow people to coordinate their activities for these kinds of things. I happen to be the administrator of the Pokemon Go Cape Town Discord server, which is specifically for doing this kind of thing. Link below if you want to join us. But there are various other groups that do similar activities using other systems like WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever. In the specific area, it's the WhatsApp group that dominates at the moment. We're working on getting them to migrate over to Discord, but for now, they use WhatsApp. And my partner is on that WhatsApp group, so she was watching what was happening. So she asked on the group, well, hey guys, is anybody else going to come and play this level 5 raid? Because we assumed that there were lots of players still in the area because the community day had just ended. Like we were, there were probably other people still around. And a couple of guys said, yeah, we'll be there. So we finished up our meal and we walked back. Plenty of time to get to the gym before the raid started. We arrived there as the egg popped, turned into a Kyogre. And there were 2 other guys there. So between the 4 of us, there wasn't enough to really fight the raid because none of us were high enough level to do it with just the 4. So we checked the WhatsApp group, and sure enough, there were a few other people there saying, oh, cool, yeah, guys, we're coming. Please wait for us. We're just going to grab something to eat quickly. We're just eating, and then we're going to meet you there shortly, in 20 minutes. Now, 20 minutes is fine. Like I said, these raid eggs are open for about 45 minutes, so that gives you enough time to do that. So we waited, and then it was radio silence from this group of people. Now, I'm not going to name any names because it doesn't really matter who they were. This is a thing that happens over and over again. I'm just using this as one particular example. 20 minutes later, still nothing. So we send messages out to the list saying, hey guys, what's happening? Oh, we're still coming. We're going to be asking for the bill shortly. So now we're 20 minutes into a 45-minute window in which this raid is available. These guys have gone to a restaurant nearby. It's not clear how far it is. They have been eating who knows what. They haven't yet asked for the bill, which means that it's going to be at least another 10 minutes before they get the bill, they get it paid, and they're ready to move out the door. Who knows how much longer after that it's going to take them to get back to the park. It could be another 20 minutes after that, which puts them well clear of the window. At that point, we pretty much gave up. We decided to leave. But as we were walking back to the car, we noticed that there were still messages coming through on the list. Guys, it looks like we're not going to make it. We're going to go to this other raid somewhere else, which is several kilometers away, too far for us to walk. We decided to abandon the attempt and went home. But this is the thing that happens all the time, where you have one group of people, you need a group of people of a certain size necessary to do this collaborative exercise, whether it's a Pokemon Go raid gym, gym raid, or a World of Warcraft raid, or a Dungeons and Dragons group, or a Magic tournament. You need a certain number of people in order to get this thing to work. And you'll have some people who are committed and ready to go, and some people who are hemming and hawing, who won't commit to whether or not they're going, or worse yet, they will commit in advance to going. Then when it comes to the time, they just don't pitch. Or they say, oh, sorry guys, can't make it. And that kind of ruins it for everybody, because now the people who were committed to it, who were clear about their intentions, or who were already there, have now had to waste their time waiting for these other people that weren't coming. If they'd known that they weren't actually going to come, they wouldn't have bothered waiting because the thing wasn't going to happen. And what this tells us is that the people who are hemming and hawing and not clear on what's going on, those are the ones who are not managing their time correctly, because they're not thinking about time in a concrete way. Those guys who were sitting at the restaurant hadn't yet planned out, well, okay, we've only just ordered our food. The restaurant is relatively busy right now. It's going to take at least another 15, 20 minutes for our food to arrive, give us 10 minutes to eat it, and then we can sort out the administration later. Or they could have tried to accelerate the process by demanding the bill the moment that they place the order, and hopefully and then ask for their food to go so they could eat it on the way. Like, there are things that they could have done to handle that interaction better. Or better yet, they could have just said on the group, hey guys, look, we're busy at a restaurant now, we're not going to make it to this one. And then the 4 of us who were sitting there waiting at the gym in the cold would have known, oh, okay, it's not worth our time to sit here and wait, we can go home. And like I said, this happens all the time. I'm not picking on those specific people, but what this tells us is that there are roughly 2 categories of people who are involved in these kinds of activities. The ones who are conscientious about this kind of thing, and the ones that are not. And the ones who are not conscientious about these kinds of things, something I've noticed about this group is that they tend to skew almost entirely towards the millennial generation. Not exclusively, there are older people that do that, but the millennials seem to be terrible at this kind of thing. They seem to not have ever learned the necessary skills in order to manage their time. And I suspect that's because they've never been taught how to use a calendar. Now, I was taught in school how to use a calendar, but something tells me that they weren't. Because in conversations that I've had with a number of millennials, they seem to be completely oblivious to the notion of a calendar. I mean, this has probably happened to you. My partner was telling me a story about something that happened to her at work, and similar things have happened to me back in the day when I was in the corporate world, is she needs to have a meeting with a co-worker to discuss a thing. She'll send a meeting request to the person. That person will accept it. The person in question, by the way, is a millennial. So the millennial accepts the meeting request. That meeting request is now put into both of their diaries. 2 days later, it's now time for the meeting. My partner arrives at the designated meeting room, and the millennial is nowhere to be found. 15 minutes later, she sends the millennial a WhatsApp message saying, "Hi, I'm here. I'm waiting for you. What's happening?" Millennial comes back and says, "Oh, is that meeting still happening? I didn't hear from you, so I thought it wasn't." So you see, the expectation on the part of the millennial here was that my partner was supposed to call or message or email again to follow up and make sure that the meeting was still happening. She'd already sent the invitation had been accepted, the venue had been booked, everything was done, the paperwork was done, but that millennial was still expecting an additional follow-up message to come through closer to the time. And that tells me that millennial's attitude towards time management is arrive at work and then drift through their day, completely oblivious to what's going on around them, waiting for their phone to vibrate so they can see, oh, I'm supposed to be at this place in the next 20 minutes. Now, there is a way that this millennial could have avoided this uncomfortable situation, this awkward interaction, because now what's happened is that millennial's reputation has been damaged with my girlfriend. And my partner is a fairly influential person within the organization. You don't really want to be damaging your reputation with her. It's not helpful. It's not in your best interests. And there are plenty of other people who have good time management skills. You don't want to be damaging your reputation with them either. It's probably to your benefit to learn how to manage your time in a more practical way, without relying on people to send you a message 20 minutes before the meeting you've already agreed to remind you that the meeting is happening. And that is things that your device can already do. You don't have to rely on other people to do that. And there's a thing on your phone called a calendar. It's right there. It comes on the phone already. In fact, most phones come with a fairly decent calendar suite that's already installed. If it's a Samsung device, then it has S Planner. If it's an Apple phone, then it has iCal, I think that's what it's called. And you can install better ones. I personally recommend the Google Calendar app. It's really, really good. It's nice and simple and elegant, and you can color code everything. It's really, really practical.
Something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. Well, it's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously, there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. If you have a bunch of those in a row, you just dig yourself a hole and then you bury yourself in it. It's like, sorry, that's just not a good strategy. It's a bad strategy. So maybe 20% of your day has to be responsibility and obligation, or maybe it's more than that, depending on how far behind you are. But even that, you can ask yourself, okay, well, I've got these responsibilities. I have to schedule the damn things in. What's the right ratio of responsibility to reward? And you can ask yourself that, just like you'd negotiate with someone who is working for you. It's like, okay, you got to work tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to work tomorrow. And you might say, okay, well, what are you going to do for me that makes it likely that I'll work for you? Well, you could ask yourself that, So maybe you do an hour of responsibility and then you play a video game for 15 minutes. I don't know, whatever turns your crank, man. But, you have to negotiate with yourself and not tyrannize yourself. like you're negotiating with someone that you care for, that you would like to be productive and have a good life. And that's how you make the schedule. It's like, and then you look at the day and you think, well, if I had that day, that'd be good. Great. You know, and you're useless and horrible, so you'll probably only hit it with about 70% accuracy, but that beats the hell out of 0.
So what Dr. Peterson was hinting at there was that millennials in particular seem to have this fear of a calendar, that it's somehow constricting them, that it's locking you into a schedule of things that you have to do, and it's something that they don't necessarily want to think about. But what Jordan hinted at, and what I want to develop further, is that it's much more useful to think of a calendar as something that can set you free. If there's something that you want to do, put it in your calendar, schedule it. Send out meeting requests to the people that you want to do that thing with. That's how you get the thing done that you want to do. Now, wanting to do isn't necessarily just fun things. Wanting to do things can include work, it can include important, responsible things, but that's how you manage your life. That's how you do all of those things. That's how you get to the stuff that matters to you, is you give yourself a time to do it, and you can design your day, you can design your schedule however you want, within reason. And what that allows you to do also is to go through your life without disappointing the other people. So like I said, Google Calendar is a really solid way of doing that. I'm something of a Google... I have been in the past something of a Google evangelist, although my relationship with Google has soured somewhat. This is one area where it hasn't. Google Calendar is still by far the best scheduling application available. If you go to calendar.google.com, you can put all of the stuff in there that you want. It syncs up effortlessly to your phone. It doesn't matter really what phone you have. It's got a beautiful web front-end interface. You can color code it. You can even subscribe to other calendars. For example, Facebook events. If you're on my page, I'm going to occasionally share events with you that might be of interest to you. If you click on I'm interested on that event will then appear on your Facebook event calendar in your Google Calendar, and you can then copy it into your private calendar, or you can just have it appear in your phone. For example, if you look here, this green event, that's from Facebook events. That's something that's been synced through from, what is that? The Star Trek Discovery Virtual Watch Party, which is something that I set up through the USS Dauntless page. It gets synced right here to my calendar. I don't have to remember, it's right there. And if I'm worried that I might forget, I can set up automated reminders so that it can pop up and say, hey, by the way, you've got this thing that's happening in 20 minutes. In fact, I do that too. Here, if you look at the gray ones, those are my daily reminders to take my medication. It says, hey, by the way, here's a thing you need to do. Don't forget to do this now. I don't have to remember that. I don't have to rely on somebody else to remind me. This device is doing it all for me, and it costs me nothing extra than already owning it. I already have this thing. Even the simplest Android or iOS device has this capability. You don't have to do anything extra. I implore millennials and anybody else who has trouble managing your time, please invest in a calendar. It costs you nothing. You have only things to gain. It doesn't have to be a prison. It doesn't have to be a constricting device. It can be something that sets you free. It can help you to plan yourself, to plan your day, to express yourself in interesting ways. And it allows you another layer of communication with people. If you want to meet somebody for dinner or something like that, sure, you need to ask them in some other format. You can establish that kind of thing on WhatsApp, but then put it in your diary. Send them a meeting request, and it'll appear in their calendar on their side. Neither of you has to remember that it's happened. You've already been reminded by your phone that you need to be at a specific place at a specific time to go meet your friend. You want to go play paintball with a group of friends? That's awesome. Set up a WhatsApp group and ask everybody who's available at what time. Decide where you're going to go play paintball, and then set up an event in your calendar and send out the meeting requests to everybody. Or set up an event on Facebook and invite all of your friends there, then have it synced back to your calendar so you'll get a reminder when the time comes. And you don't have to log into the Facebook app to see if there's a reminder, because it'll just beep on your phone when the time comes, half an hour before, an hour before, whatever it is. You can configure all of that stuff. The power is in your hands to make your life better through the miracle of calendars. All right, I think I've been condescending enough in this video already. But my core message is, please, millennials and anybody else who has trouble organizing their lives, embrace the miracle that is a calendar. It's something that can change your life, and it can change the lives of everybody around you. If only you can learn to master the schedule, it really can be a powerful force for change in your life. It can show respect for the people around you, and it can improve your reputation in the minds of the people around you, especially the people who are above you in the chain of command. And those are the people that you need to impress if you want to get better jobs. All right. That's it for now. Swat out.